Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were having breakfast over the weekend. They're part of Turning Point USA, and that is a group that is meant to do propaganda across college campuses and intimidate professors who are exercising their freedom of speech. So nonetheless, they are the group that most loudly cries about how their freedom of speech is abridged. Now that is a great, great irony and hypocrisy. But this weekend, there were some actions taken against them that I do not agree with. I wanted to show that for you guys. As always, we believe in being principled here and being for freedom of speech no matter what. And then we'll find out if Charlie Kirk is actually for freedom of speech. So first, here is video of that encounter in Philly.
Out.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. They poured water over his head. It's not the right thing to do. One, because anything physical is not the morally right thing to do and not the progressive thing to do. Number two, it allows them to play the victim card, which they can't wait to play. So why would you help them like that? Now, let me give you a little bit more of the video and then I'll give you full context. Candace Owens, who was there, wrote a tweet saying, Charlie Kirk and I just got attacked in capital letters and protested by Antifa for eating breakfast. I don't know if it actually is Antifa, that's what she's claiming, but this tweet already contains at least one lie. She went on to say they are currently following us through Philly, all black and Hispanic police force protecting us as they scream, F the racist police. Now, on the video it appears that there are also white officers, but that's not at all important. The lie is that they were chanting F the racist police. I want to show you the video and you will see for yourself that they're actually chanting F the racist policies, which is very, very different. Watch. Policies is clear as day, repeated over and over again. And it doesn't sound that much like police, it's policies. So now, that doesn't affect the fact that the person shouldn't have poured the water over Charlie Kirk. I'm sure Charlie would agree that protesting him is a freedom of speech issue because that's what he claims all the time when they do it to the left. I'm kidding that I'm sure Charlie would agree because Charlie often does not agree with freedom of speech. It's just whenever it is convenient. In fact, they have a professor watch list with over hundreds of professors on that list where they try to intimidate them into silence. Now, I want to be clear one more time here. Doing anything physical is not the right direction. And I agree with Philip Wagman, who wrote for the Washington Examiner, that it allows for easy martyrdom for these guys, and they don't deserve it. But I do also want to point out, as they're in the middle of crying now, although Charlie was smiling ear to ear throughout the entire video. Every time they panned to him, he had a giant smile over his face thinking, yes, I'm now the victim, and I'll get to claim that my rights have been abridged. Now, but does Charlie actually care about rights being abridged? And especially on the issue of freedom of speech, because he puts all these professors on a watch list, they get death threats nonstop, some so much so that they are driven from campus. And for example, a professor at Drexel named George Cicero Lamar was not allowed back onto campus by Drexel University unless he had security with him, and they put him on administrative leave even though he had just expressed his freedom of speech. But Charlie Kirk thought, great, let's intimidate them. That's the whole point of his professor watch list. At that point, he didn't seem overly concerned about freedom of speech. CNN caught up with him on that and asked him, hey, aren't you concerned about these people being punished for exercising their freedom of speech? Look at his answer.
Some of these professors have gotten death threats as a result of being outed on these websites. Do you see that the watch list has responsibility for that?
I don't have sympathy for people that are in public life that say these sort of statements and then try and play the victim card.
You don't have sympathy for people who say outrageous statements as you do all of the time against immigrants, minority groups, etc., and then play the victim card. So I assume today that Charlie's not playing the victim card, or Candace Owens. Oh, they are all over the internet and all over media. Oh my God, I'm the victim. They protested us. Well, you want people to protest all those professors who are actually doing their job. The irony, I don't know if it's lost on them because they're not that bright, or if they think, irony, that's for liberals. We don't care to be principled. We don't actually care about freedom of speech. Don't you get it? This is just propaganda. So that's exactly what they're doing. Here, I got another example for you guys. You guys know the BDS movement, that's to boycott Israel for their occupation of the Palestinians for decades now. Now you might agree or disagree with that principle, but there's a bill that was proposed in Congress that is particularly odious. It is among the most unconstitutional bills that I have ever seen. It would punish people for exercising their freedom of speech against Israel. How is that remotely American? So let me give you an explanation of what it is. The ACLU sent a letter to the Senate saying this bill would impose civil and criminal punishment on individuals solely because of their political beliefs about Israel and its policies. Well, you say punish, but ACLU, what would be the maximum penalty you can get if you were to dare to speak out against Israel? Violations would be subject to a minimum civil penalty of $250,000. That's the minimum. And a maximum criminal penalty of $1 million and 20 years in prison. Well, I mean, but look guys, Charlie Kirk mainly focuses on college campuses. How about college campuses? Well, The Intercept reporting on US campuses, punishment of pro-Palestinian students for expressing criticisms of Israel is so commonplace that the Center for Constitutional Rights refers to it as the, quote, Palestine exception to free speech. Well, I'm sure that if you ask Charlie Kirk about it, he's going to be principled and say that is outrageous, and if people want to be in favor of BDS, they should be allowed to. It is a freedom of speech issue, especially on college campuses. Well, luckily he was asked. What was his answer? Kirk condemned the BDS movement as anti-Semitic. Okay, so I just want to understand what you claim are your principles. So if you think something is discriminatory, apparently it's okay to ban it. Now, I don't think that's right, but apparently that's your position. Charlie, you're free to clarify. Do you think it's that law that is being proposed on the BDS issue in Congress is outrageous and an affront to freedom of speech, which it clearly is? Or do you think it's totally fine because you happen to think that movement is discriminatory? Because people think you're discriminatory, so I guess that would mean that you should stop crying every time someone protests you. Like I said, doing anything physical is unacceptable, and that person who threw the water needlessly put them in a position where they get to play the victim card, when in reality, the rest of the folks there were exercising their freedom of speech against what they consider to be discriminatory and offensive speech that Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens do. And if they're still crying about that, they have no leg to stand on at all, because they are the world's largest hypocrites. They don't actually believe in freedom of speech. They love trying to intimidate professors, and in some cases even endangering their lives by putting them on a so-called professor watch list. And they have never shown any concern for the freedom of speech of those professors, the protesters, or anyone who does not agree with them. So understand who they are. That's who they are. Two easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.